So obviously I didn't expect the PhD to be an easy thing. Like it's notoriously hard to do a PhD, but I didn't quite grasp like what part of the whole PhD journey is the difficult part. It kind of came as a shock to me. When I went home for the Christmas holidays, I felt lost and confused about the whole PhD process. I really didn't see like a way out with the whole situation, with my research, with my ideas. It's just I didn't know where to go from here. I just sat in a spot which I really didn't like. I felt like I had no agency about my situation. I felt like my hands were tied and I couldn't figure out like how to proceed from there. Everyone keeps telling you that the PhD is hard. Obviously, like that kind of just makes sense. But I don't think I actually believed them when they said like how hard it was. And that was because I didn't understand what part of it is hard. You see, I never struggled, like with like getting decent grades or whatnot. Like, obviously, there were rough moments. This is not to toot my own horn. This is just to give you a context of where I'm coming from. But it was always like, there is the clear objective. And in order to reach that objective, you have to make these steps, check these boxes, and then once you check the boxes, you're done. Like, here is your degree. And like, I thought that, like, oh yeah, I never struggled with those. So like, how different is a PhD? Quite different. Yeah, I think what I didn't understand is like how hard it is to manage your psychology when you are doing a PhD. So a bit of context about like my PhD, so you kind of can understand a bit better what we are working with here. My PhD is heavily interdisciplinary. So I'm researching a network science or like network analysis perspective in user and content behavior. If it sounds vague, it is vague. So like when you are working on like a bit of a loose interdisciplinary PhD project, you have a lot of wiggle room. But with great wiggle room comes great responsibility. Like normally the idea with the PhD is that you find, like a gap in the literature and then you come up with something to work in that, like fill in that gap, and then you can just publish that paper and then contribute it great. When it comes to like this interdisciplinary blank slate kind of projects, finding the gap is much harder. So as I was sitting on the train going home for the holidays, that was December 16, I started my PhD September 1st, so I've been there around like 3 months. And I tried a lot of stuff, like I tried to come up with a lot of ways to like fill this gap and like find the gap and then how to fill it and like what we could do, and like nothing worked out. I had a lot of ideas that fell through. But that just like, it takes a toll on you after a while, and like I just sat there with this amazing opportunity, with this company who just helps us out. And I really just felt like terrible about myself, because I was just sitting here like, what if this just can't be done? And that's not a great place to be, let me tell you that. Of course, what one does now, asks for help. So I talked to my supervisors, of course, but I also wanted a bit of a fresh perspective. So I talked to quite a few professors who I'm on good terms with. And like one piece of advice that was coming back is, like, in order, like, just don't start from literature, don't look for a gap, just find what you personally are interested in. That sounds easy, like, oh yeah, just like, what are you interested in? And like the first time a professor asked me that question, like, okay, so what are you curious about with regards to this data? Then I was just sitting there like, oh no. And like, it sounds silly, but it truly is difficult to know. Like, for me, I can get excited write about anything. Like, if someone is enthusiastic about their research, they will tell me about it, and I'm gonna get excited about it, 100%. And I really enjoy that, but it makes it hard to distinguish when I am actually enthusiastic about something because it excites me, or whether it's someone else's enthusiasm that I can like grab and channel into me. So, what are you interested in is a difficult question for me to answer. If 3 people that you respect tell you to do something, you probably should consider. That's how we ended up at just before the holiday, like the last meeting with my supervisors, and we came up with a homework for me, which was don't work. That was number 1. And second, just think about the problem. Think about what I'm curious about. Think about what I want to do with it. All of this, just think about it. How I feel, figure it out, like just let it simmer in a bit. So I took the opportunity to rest, and boy, rest I did.
Jag kan
The
det.
extremely graceful landing. Excellent. So let's take a look what I thought about this, still back in Hungary, January 9th.
But start with what excites me. And that's a really hard question. Finding your passion. Wow, the sun with the dramatic change was a great... So finding your passion from an academic perspective, or like any perspective of course, but like in the context of a PhD, is pretty hard. And I spent 2 weeks struggling to find what I'm really interested in, but all that 2 weeks culminated in that one moment in a concert where it all came together. And like now that I have that direction, you know, that North Star of what I want to research, all of a sudden mixing work and life doesn't seem to be a bad thing, you know. It just feels natural because like, yeah, of course, it's what I'm interested in, you know, like me, Gergő, the person, is interested in that. And then Gergő, the PhD candidate, will conduct rigorous empirical research on it and publish it. But like, in my personal life, I'm just interested. And it all of a sudden just like clicked together that work and life should not compete when you're doing a PhD, but more complement each other. And I think letting the PhD sink into me a bit deeper, and also taking the time to zoom out and take some time with the family to kind of reflect was also a great idea. So shout out to my supervisors for giving me this amazing homework, and shout out to the family too for giving me the opportunity to unwind. But all of these kind of just came together in this understanding on how I want to proceed. So that's really nice.
So as you can see there, the idea of work-life balance was a pretty like pivotal piece, or like a centerpiece of my holiday, philosophizing at home. And I think it was largely because, you know, when you don't enjoy what you are doing, you know, like when the PhD is not going well, you really want to like confine it into, you know, like pretend it's a 9-to-5 job. Because like it's easier, you know, because like if your job in the 9-to-5 is going pretty poorly, everything else around it can still be alright. But by confining the PhD to this 9-to-5 and like trying to keep a distance from it, it really just like doesn't really work. So I think this holiday really helped me to get a bit of a perspective on the long term, you know, like reading The Engaged Scholar kind of gave me a bit of a better idea of what kind of academic I want to be down the line, but also finding a research topic or a vague direction which I can see myself like researching far into the future. Both kind of like gave me a bit of perspective, like kind of helped me see. So now recording this on February 4th, I think the idea is much less important rather than like seeing the big picture. And like now that I have some perspective on like how my future could look like with the whole PhD journey, I think like I just feel much more comfortable with the micro hiccups, you know, like the roadblocks I face in my day-to-day research, because I still face roadblocks. It's research, you know, like it's not all of a sudden becoming easy, but I'm just dealing with them much better because I know that it's going somewhere. So I kind of wanted to make this video for anyone who might be struggling with this, like kind of walking you through my journey and my thought process around this. And like maybe this can help someone feel okay with not being okay, you know? Like I talked to some PhDs since, and then everyone's like, oh yeah, the first year really sucked. That's reassuring to hear, you know, like, yeah, you know, like that now it might be a bit sucky, but like still, you know, like you're going somewhere. So yeah, I hope that, you know, like this was something of value to you. I hope it just felt amazing to get it off my chest and put it together. So yes, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.
Have to wait until there is a train driver. Well, let's hope the German railways will find a